The final week of September has a nice flavor of success and accomplishment with Mars in Gemini, trining Saturn in Aquarius on Wednesday, September 28th. Expect steady progress, focus, and recognition as this aspect develops. Let's take a closer look. My name is Anastasia. I'm a traditional astrologer specializing in natal relationship and predictive astrology. If you'd like to work with me, check out the links down below. There's currently a Libra season special that you might want to look at. If you're new to my channel, welcome. Thank you for joining. I'd love for you to subscribe, leave me a comment, leave a like. Anything like that helps me grow, my channel grow, and for me to bring more videos to you. So thank you for that. This aspect perfects on Wednesday, September 28th, but really kind of at night. It's 1:48 a.m. Eastern time. So if you are on the West Coast, for you it will still be Tuesday, September 27th. And we do usually feel these aspects a few days before as they build and get closer. And then we feel them a little bit after the aspect perfects. So basically, we will feel the effects the entire week, starting with Sunday, September 25th, and until Saturday, October 1st. It's kind of like, going to a hair salon and getting a haircut. As it perfects, you're getting excited about it happening, and then after a while, you're like walking around with a new haircut and feeling like the king of the world or the queen of the world. So that's how that strengthening and loosening effect might be felt. So what is Mars? Mars is the planet of drive, ambition, sexual desire, our ego. Mars is the planet connected with blades and fast action and speed, and kind of like Mars usually sets us apart. Sometimes people say that the sun is about ego, and the sun is about ego, but Mars is about ego in a sense that Mars asks the question of how am I different from these people? How am I special? Mars very much sets us apart, and Mars rules over certain animalistic sides in us, right? Like that sexual desire or certain passions that we may not have a lot of control over. Very fiery, right? Like it's a red planet, it's a hot planet. So there's a lot of passion behind Mars. And that energy of separation, the energy of standing apart. Currently it's in Gemini. Gemini deals on a mental plane. Maybe you've been having a lot more ideas. Maybe you've had to defend yourself. Maybe you've encountered some kind of quick mental activity. On the negative with Mars and Gemini, there might be a struggle to pick the lane, right? Sometimes Mars and Gemini can be so interested in so many different things that it's really hard to focus. And that's where Saturn comes in, and Saturnian influence can actually lend a supportive hand to Mars. So what is Saturn? Saturn is the lord of karma. Saturn is the last visible planet, and it rules over limitations. It's the last planet we can see, right? There is energy of hard stops, delays, blockages, duties, responsibilities. Saturn is realism. It's the realism that we might not like to face at times. And, sometimes people like to badmouth Saturn or worry too much about Saturn, but all Saturn is here to do, it's to make us face the reality, to make us see things in the realistic way. And as much as Saturn limits and blocks, Saturn also builds walls around us. And having walls around us can protect us. Saturn rules boundaries, and it's healthy to have good boundaries in your relationship, right? It's necessary. It's good to have walls around us in everyday life because we wouldn't survive being on the street necessarily in the middle of winter. So Saturn is a teacher. It's not always the nicest teacher, but it's likely the teacher that will help you make fire and survive if you ever are lost in like a cold environment. And Saturn is of course in Aquarius currently, making us question a lot of societal norms, making us rethink our relationships and our dynamics in the world and in our relationships. Trines are of the nature of Jupiter. So Jupiter tends to want to expand our life, bring benevolence, beauty, joy into our lives. So whenever two planets interact via trine, their energies mesh well together. They are trying to interact in a harmonious hand and like lend a helping hand to one another. So how can this show up, right? How can this energy show up in your life in an actual way? So both are air signs, right? So they will be likely focused on community and your role in the community, relationships, working with other people, concepts and ideas. So coming up maybe with new ideas, new ways of doing things, working on projects that require a lot of research, a lot of networking, a lot of connectivity. Maybe business dealings, negotiations, like all of these kind of things can be more highlighted than, let's say, physical labor, which would have been the case possibly with like Mars in Virgo and Saturn in Capricorn, for example. Mars and Saturn are both considered malefics, but in a sense that they have that like negative connotation that sometimes they bring negative experiences into our life, but they also have that malefic energy, like I said, you know, in a sense of like teaching us things through more negative things, which we would rather not deal with, right? Like everyone would choose Venus and a pleasant walk in the park versus Saturnian lesson of working hard or you don't have money to pay the bills. So there's an element of that. But like I like Mars and Saturn because Mars has that reckless, a little bit impatient, especially in Gemini. It can be kind of childlike, very enthusiastic, but without any focus, right? Spreading itself too much, getting frustrated, saying things that maybe don't need to be said. And Saturn has, if Mars is like a soldier, like a youthful soldier that is trying to assert itself and like making a lot of mistakes, Saturn is like a weathered general, someone who has a lot of experience, someone who has made mistakes in the past and actually can guide this soldier. Like imagine a movie, right? With Mars and Saturn, and like Mars comes in and Mars is all like, I want to do all these things, but I don't know how. And Saturn is like, sit down, I will help you, kid. So Saturn has that like kind of helping hand. And that's one of the things how this aspect can show up is you can get a helping hand from someone. You can get a person like an authority figure, an old boss, a new boss, a parent, someone in power, a teacher, right? Come in and help you, be on your side. You can expect to be more focused. You can expect to be disciplined, committed to the goals that you have, more efficient, right? As well as like Mars and Gemini, too many perspectives. Saturn in Aquarius might be like, but what serves everyone, right? Like what serves the humanity? And it's easier to choose. There is powerful leadership skills and a very strategic mind. Like your mind you'll be able to get to where you're going with less steps. So that week, you know, starting September 25th until roughly like September or October 1st is great for like making moves, making plans. Of course, Mercury is retrograde and it's not necessarily the time to press that button and like publish your website, but it's a great time to dedicate time in the day and commit to working on things. Like, you know, if you're looking for work, setting some time aside and just committing and going at it. And it's likely that this conscious strategic effort will bring good results. Romantically, right? Speaking of Mars's connection to our sexual energy, to our passions and drives, Saturn will likely give you stamina. So there might be like a strong and powerful desire and like sex that lasts a really long time. For example, it's a great time if you've been waiting to have sex with someone, like, right, you know, might be a good time because it's likely to be like good and high quality, high quality, approved by Anastasia and the universe, the planets. You may feel attracted to people who are Saturnian, right? If Mars is that desire, Saturn colors the desire. So people who are in power, people who have authority, elders, someone older than you or someone younger than you. Saturn is the teacher, so there might be this kind of very literal case of being attracted to your teacher or being attracted to someone who can teach you or you can teach them, right? There's very much like energy of mentoring others, and you might be doing that romantically. You will likely to seek long-term relationships. Something that is short-term might not be as exciting to Saturn because Saturn rules walls and structures that take time to build, right? And like something that's more of a short-term is not as interesting for it. And it's a great time. It's a great time for education. It's a great time for committing to like any kind of intellectual project, right? Build a website, plan some kind of ritual. I'm doing, for those of you who follow me and know that I've created candles in the past, I'm like brainstorming very actively new projects. So I'm excited for this energy to kind of like use the final week of Mercury retrograde for a lot of planning. Good time to negotiate, good time for business dealings, signing contracts. Of course, Mercury retrograde, double check everything. But it could be like quite a powerful time. And keep me posted if you're watching this video as this transit unravels, right? Which it's already starting to unravel, and you get this recognition or you get good results for your hard work. Let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. And watch out for, watch out for being too objective, kind of, because it's both of them are air signs. And there might be a sense of like, this is rational, but like maybe you're not taking into account like the feelings of other people. I don't feel like this is gonna be like a cutthroat, I need success at all costs. That feels more like Pluto energy to me. But I would just try to be very objective, but also caring for other people. And yeah, like try not to remember that relationships are not just about like rationale of it, but there's also a need to be caring and fair and like sensitive to the needs of other people. Some of the famous people with this aspect where you can see maybe that commitment to the goal and dedication to what they're working on are Barack Obama, and he became the first Black president in the US. We also have Denzel Washington and Matt Damon. Two of the great artists, Michelangelo and Leonardo da Vinci, had this aspect. And, they're both kind of, they were contemporaries and kind of competitive in some ways. And like Michelangelo, before the age of 30, sculpted, I think it's like Pieta is the name of the sculpture, and David. And he painted Sistine Chapel, which is amazing work, right? Like Sistine Chapel is like filled with art. And if you've ever been there, it's like, it's truly magnificent. You feel like the person who's been gone for such a long time, right? Like he lived in 1500s, but the art remains and it touches you so deeply. So, and it's like such a great example to me of something that took a long time, but for the purpose. I'm not sure, I haven't looked into what signs those were in. Would be interesting to see, but like a commitment to the art project, because to paint like the entire ceiling, I feel like there's like Sistine Chapel and there's like a name of the other thing that I'm forgetting. But like to do all this work, and Michelangelo lived like a really long life, and Leonardo da Vinci too, how, he was a painter, he was an engineer, a scientist, a sculptor, an architect. Like, here we go. He sounds like someone who may have had it in Gemini. But to be that committed to the craft, to be that committed to art, and find joy in the process, I feel like is very much Mars and Saturn together. So let's take a quick look and see what this might mean for your sign, right? Like what to look out for, what to watch out for. So for Aries rising, we have Mars in the 3rd house in a trine with Saturn in the 11th. Saturn in the 11th could bring support of friends, support of people in your network, support of people who are older than you, who maybe have more connections. Mars in the 3rd likely has a lot of ideas, likely is like active. Maybe you've been thinking of some kind of like tech projects you want to pursue, about using your skills, like, I don't know, let's say becoming a photographer, starting a blog, starting a writing project. And Saturn in the 11th could be either a connection, someone you already know that helps you, that comes in and offers you an opportunity, or there might be a sense of recognition. Even with Saturn in the 11th, success on social media, for example, presenting your idea in front of a lot of people, getting complimented for it, or getting an approval of some sort. Working with friends, I think also is a possibility, but like definitely your friendships, your network can be a source of support, as well as 11th house is your hopes and dreams. And with Saturn being here, you might be venturing out there and starting some kind of new project that is about a new dream, maybe dreaming bigger, maybe not being afraid to follow your hunches and desires. For Taurus rising, we have Mars in the 2nd, trining Saturn in the 10th. Mars in the 2nd is all about like hustling, competing, making money, being more proactive. And Saturn in the 10th is either about taking that and turning into like an official business, or maybe some kind of professional project, right? Like feels very much like maybe you're getting a big client, maybe you're getting a big deal professionally, maybe you're taking a step towards becoming a business owner. And of course, Saturn in the 10th can also be a boss who encourages you, or like a parent, someone who's like in power, someone you see, someone who in your eyes is like a boss in your life. And let me know if this resonates in the comments below. Let me know if you've been feeling that. But some sense of like recognition, validation, approval, but also making long-term moves that benefit your financial well-being. Yeah, what's happening at work, Taurus risings? Let me know. For Gemini rising, Mars in the 1st house will trine Saturn in the 9th house. And Saturn in the 9th might bring completion of a legal matter. Like, let's say you're waiting for a visa or a green card or some kind of important document that will determine your future, because Mars in the 1st is very embodied. It's your actions. It's you as a person, as a being, as a physical body. And Saturn in the 9th might bring some sort of change to your education, to your legal status, to travel matters that solidify you as a person, solidify your goals and your dreams and aspirations, right? Like this could even be, Saturn in the 9th could mean meeting a person that supports you and gives you a writing project, or helps you publish your book, or helps you present your idea. Definitely lean into teachers, mentors, like therapists, life coaches, anyone who's in your life who is that kind of character. Starting education feels very much of a possibility here. Dealing with education matters, becoming a teacher. And maybe for some of you, there's like a long journey ahead. Let me know if that's the case down there. For Cancer rising, we have Mars in the 12th house, trining Saturn in the 8th. For Cancer risings, it's a little bit more sublime, hidden, less visible, right? So Saturn in the 8th house wants to free you from debts. It wants to find healthier relationships, healthier contracts, healthier interactions, dependencies, right? Like we all depend on people and we all have relationships with others. We don't exist in a vacuum. But Saturn in the 8th for the last 2 years, approximately at this point, is very much about like, how can you make those things better? How can you make them serve you? How can you bring more fairness to them? So with Mars in the 12th, you might be looking at some of your self-defeating tendencies and some of your self-limiting beliefs. And Saturn in the 8th is either encouraging you to start therapy, or it's like encouraging you to make physical transformations. For some of you, maybe you're paying off a debt, maybe you're getting some kind of financial support as well as emotional support. But I feel like to me, this is very much about like Mars in the 12th house, you going solo and working on some kind of either mental health project or a project that helps other people. And Saturn will perhaps bring like opportunities, resources, good therapists, right? Like maybe even something that you subconsciously understand about yourself, like, you know, not believing that you can accomplish things, or if you keep thinking that you need something in order to find that success, maybe it's the moment of realization that you're standing in your own way and it's about just taking action. And Saturn in the 8th is offering you a resource, a loan, debt payout opportunity, or, you know, like maybe maybe you've been in like public service and you get your student loans forgiven or something, which I have recently found out is a thing. And yeah, for some of you, it might be either doing therapy and like, you know, making progress in therapy, or becoming a healer and taking on a role of a healer. For Leo rising, Mars in the 11th house trines Saturn in the 7th house. This to me feels like some kind of partnership with a friend or someone in your network. And partnership could be business, because Mars in the 11th might have like a lot of dreams, a lot of desire to work with other people and shine on social media. And maybe you get like advice from someone you know. Or it could also be a romantic partnership. There could be a start of like a budding romance between you and your friend, for example. Signing contracts, I think, is also a possibility with Saturn in the 7th, making even making things official, making a job opportunity official, making a relationship official. I can see that. But like Saturn in the 7th is all about taking responsibility for your relationships. And maybe even for some of you, it's about like saying no to certain things, right? Like if Mars in the 11th offers you too many opportunities, or like someone in your life is trying to make things romantic and you don't feel like you don't feel like it, you feel like it's not good for your future, maybe it's about saying no to certain things and putting yourself first. Let me know how this resonates in the comments below. For Virgo rising, we have Mars in the 10th trining Saturn in the 6th. And Saturn in the 6th might have to do with your health, might have to do with overcoming some kind of health difficulty, getting over a health issue. It could mean committing to health or committing to healing, right? Saturn in the 6th could be very much about like, you know, if you've had Saturn in your 6th house for a while, maybe you've realized that you want to do work that serves other people. And so Mars being in the house of career and Saturn being in the house of health, making moves professionally that involves health and healing are quite likely. There's also, with Saturn in the 6th house, a high probability of starting a project that is going to last a really long time and will demand a lot of you, but will be satisfying and give you a sense of accomplishment as a result. So don't shy away from difficult projects. Be on the lookout for them, because right now might be the time that you get that exciting opportunity that, like I said, you know, requires a lot of work, but is worth it in the long run. For Libra rising, there's Mars in the 9th house trining Saturn in the 5th house. Mars in the 9th might be encouraging you to take action in the realm of education, maybe thinking of becoming a teacher, maybe thinking of studying something new. Maybe you've been thinking about travel, writing, expanding your life somehow, expanding your knowledge, expanding your beliefs and your place in the world. And Saturn in the 5th will make you prioritize fun. It will make you prioritize joy. It will kind of make you strategic about those matters related to education, to taking on new projects, to writing, travel, anything like that. So, you know, like Saturn in the 5th wants to, and this, I feel Mars in Gemini, and you know, my moon is in Gemini. It's like too much Gemini, all the thoughts. But Saturn in the 5th wants to create, and maybe with Mars in the 9th house, you're able to devote that energy and that desire to create. Devote, or actually maybe like think about it carefully and spend a lot of time doing careful research and planning and learning in order to create something new, in order to start something new. If you have kids, this could be about your children, you know, like maybe a child starts education, maybe a child goes through some kind of important period in their life. And dating or getting into a relationship, or even like working with foreign people, is also a possibility. Maybe solidifying a relationship with a foreigner, whoever they might be. If they are a romantic partner, that's one thing. If you work with them professionally, that's another thing. For Scorpio rising, we have Mars in the 8th house, trining Saturn in the 4th house. I wonder if this is, Saturn in the 4th is about making changes to your foundation, making changes to your place of living. And Mars in the 8th could either bring a loan your way, a mortgage, or it could encourage you to pay off a debt, to maybe feel like you are more in touch with your roots and you feel happier at home and it's finally your home. So expect like a positive flow between the house of other people's resources, debts, taxes, and home and family house. Your partner could be making moves, and maybe the reason why you pay off a debt, maybe, you know, they're doing really well financially, or they're really hustling around, and that results in some sort of like solidifying at home. But yeah, like it feels like either you're investing in the home or in your relationship with your family, or you are closing it and completing some kind of important project. Like even if you've been renovating, let's say, maybe it's the time that that renovation project comes to a close. 8th house also deals with therapy and healing, and Saturn in the 4th house might very much be about closing, kind of healing a childhood wound, looking at things differently, processing them differently, making a step to heal a childhood wound or anything like that. And of course, because Saturn is in the 4th house, and 4th house is not just your living situation, but it's also your family, there might be changes in your relationship with your family. Maybe, you know, you introduce different dynamics, you build healthy boundaries and start a relationship that is kind of healthier if you've had an unhealthy relationship with your family, or you connect, yeah, like maybe you just connect with them differently. I feel like the 8th house to me just reads very much like healing and transformation, and some kind of transformation that deals with early childhood family living situation. Let me know how this resonates and how it actually is playing out in your real life, my dear Scorpio risings. For Sag rising, we have Mars in the 7th house, trining Saturn in the 3rd house. And there is like a nice flow between the house of business, marriage, partnerships, and the house of siblings, neighbors, writing, and communication. So on one hand, this could be an introduction of a healthier communication with your partner, where maybe you make a change and you start to express yourself more honestly, and you find more kind of like you find a healthier connection with the person you love. There might be a chance that you're partnering up with someone and starting a writing, a teaching, an education project. Maybe you're starting to date someone who's a neighbor or someone you meet through hanging out at a local spot, for example. But definitely feels like Saturn in the third is all about what are you trying to say, what's your message, valuing your ideas. So I think relationships and partnerships of all kinds will benefit from you looking more seriously at your speech and maybe taking more responsibility, as well as your schedule, right? There might also be Saturn in the third might inspire you to change your schedule, to make an upgrade, get like a new car, do something that like is investment into your daily life, into your communication that benefits the relationship. Maybe even starting therapy with your partner, right? Like starting couples counseling for those of you who are at that place, or something like if that's something you're interested in. Making a choice to speak clearer in order to better a relationship. For Capricorn rising, we have Mars in the 6th house, trining Saturn in the 2nd house. Mars in the 6th gives you a lot of action. Thankfully, Mars rejoices in the 6th house and you're able to handle all of these things that are happening in your life. But Saturn in the 2nd could mean that your actions are paying off financially, and there might be some kind of exciting bonus coming into your life. Hard work that you've been doing pays off. That's my feeling for Capricorn risings. Making an investment into your health, into your future. Even with Saturn, like sometimes saying no to things, right? Like saying no to things that maybe bring you money but make you feel not so good, because you are on that journey of prioritizing your well-being. Saturn in the 2nd asks you to value yourself, and sometimes valuing yourself comes through making more money, asking for more money, asking for what you deserve, right? So that's a possibility here. I got lost in the upliftment of like asking for what you deserve. Yeah, like you know, sometimes it comes from other people and other people's validation. Sometimes it also comes from investing in yourself and putting yourself first and prioritizing your inner peace so that you can be there for others, so that you can be a better servant of other people. You need to make sure to take care of self. And another thing that for Capricorn risings this could signify is some type of a long project that could be a physical project or could also be a health related project, maybe some kind of changes to your body and your well-being that brings gains, financial gains, or a sense of accomplishment internally. For Aqua risings, we have Mars in the 5th, trining Saturn in the 1st. And to me, this feels like you become, as Saturn, as someone who has Saturn in the 1st house, you are this authority, right? In the beginning of this video, I spoke about getting support of authority figures. For Aqua risings, it's about becoming an authority. And since it's trining Mars in the 5th house, being an authority to children, being an authority in the creative field, athletic field, 5th house is the place of games and action, and oftentimes it connects to sports too. So becoming that figure that other people rely on, and ultimately doing that because Mars in the 5th house wants more play, it wants more joy. So you're prioritizing joy. You're almost like an authority figure that will go out there and will spread joy and will make sure you go have fun. Make sure other people are having a good time, or, you know, living their life to the best of their potential. And another thing that I can see for Aqua risings, of course, this can play out in many different ways, but one other thing that I can see here is making a relationship official, perhaps. That could be a possibility for Leo risings too. but yeah, like Saturn in the first house, you sort of embody that like serious energy, and it could be a relationship, it could be a romantic relationship, or you're making something else official, like that desire to be an authority figure. Perhaps you're becoming a teacher, a yoga teacher or something like that, and you're coming out and expressing yourself and getting a sense of recognition from other people, accepting of you and acknowledging your authority. Let me know how this resonates in the comments below. For Pisces rising, we have Mars in the 4th house, trining Saturn in the 12th house. And Mars in the 4th house in a trine to Saturn in the 12th could be about healing, because Saturn has been in your 12th house for a while, I think, asking you to look at things that you might normally not enjoy looking at, asking you to release certain self-defeating notions and tendencies. And Mars in the 4th house might connect it to home and family and childhood, encouraging you to get out of your way, to work with forgiveness, to address things, secrets and skeletons in your closet. So I feel like Saturn together with Mars can very much be about more spiritual things, more hidden things that you may not even be aware of, right? Like an example would be looking for work and sending applications, but not wanting to find work that you're looking for, secretly not really being interested in that kind of job position, and that's why you don't get the job. So there might be, with this aspect for you, a sense of realizing that you are putting that negative message into the universe, and the universe is reflecting it back at you and kind of calling you to be better, be more honest with yourself, and actually clarify what you want and take steps towards them. Starting therapy to address childhood trauma is a possibility. Overcoming difficulty is a possibility, as well as Mars in the 4th house in a trine with Saturn in the 12th could bring some kind of sense of closing a chapter related to your place of living, closing a chapter related to your home and family, and moving on from it, right? Like maybe you sell a home, maybe because like Saturn in the 12th could be connected to losses, but it's a harmonious aspect, so you're losing something that brings more freedom, independence, and self-containment. This is all I have for you, Pisces risings. Let me know in the comments below if this resonated. If you have been feeling the effects of Saturn, I'm curious, for the last, it started in March until July 2020, and then all of 2021, all of 2022, asking you to work with those like self-defeating tendencies. Let me know how this has been showing up, and if you feel like you've overcome it or you're still dealing with it. And I hope you enjoy this week. We have some lovely things, right? Like this aspect happens on the 28th. My personal favorite one, maybe all year. It happens every year, approximately, unless Venus goes retrograde, is Venus entering Libra. There's going to be a video dedicated to that, but I think something to really look forward to. So end of September is looking peachy. Have a great time. I'll talk to you soon.